Well, looking at the need to bring government closer to the people, and of course, looking at the representatives of the National Assembly, House of Representatives, and of course, the House of Senate. The need for us to look into that forms the crux of today's discussion, as we look at the bills being passed by the Ninth Assembly that later translated into law, as being given assent by the former president, Muhammadu Buhari. The role of good governance, and basically we also look at the need for us to see the roles of the National Assembly in bringing about good governance in Nigeria. Discussing this with me, starting from my extreme left, I have a Notary Republic of Nigeria and former SSA to the governor of Edo State, a constitutional lawyer, Adams Aliyu. Thanks for coming, Adams.
Thank you, moderator. Good day, viewers.
Next to him is a former gubernatorial candidate in Edo State governorship election, and he is a legal practitioner, Cosmos Irabo. Thanks for coming, Comrade Cosmos.
Yeah, the true comrade. Thank you so much. Well done, viewers.
All right, next to him is another sound legal practitioner, and he is Emmanuel Bakbolo. Thanks for being here.
It's a delight to be here. Good morning, Nigeria.
Okay, let's quickly start with you, the former SSA to the governor of Edo State, Adams Aliyu. Now, we have the 10th National Assembly that has been inaugurated, and there is need to score the 9th Assembly, that came with some robust legislations like placing railways into the concurrent list that gives room for state governments to, bring means of transportation in that light and do business, Also bringing about liberation of the judiciary and the legislature from the strongholds of the state governors by granting financial autonomy. We can't but say a lot that was done in those regards. But let's look at the 10th National Assembly. What do you see as the Senate, for instance, under Senator Godswill Akpabio as the Senate President?
Well, the 10th National Assembly is a replica of the preceding National Assemblies, and the modus operandi, they are encapsulated in the Constitution, right from Section 47 to 79, Part 1, Chapter 5, subtitled the Legislature, that is National Assembly. Senate on one hand, House of Rep on the other hand. And Section 47 kicks off with the proclamation, the enabling authority of the National Assembly, while Section 48 talks of the composition of the Senate, Section 49 that of the House of Rep, and Section 50 now provides that the leadership, that is Senate Presidents, Deputy Senate President, must be elected within themselves, ditto for the House of Rep. And thereafter, all other modules to ensure good governance, like quorum has to be 1/3, the Speaker in Rep or the Senate President has a casting vote in time of tie, motions have to be debated, bills must be sponsored and passed through normal process, first reading, second reading, third reading, etc. So these are all to prepare good governance. And you mentioned Akpabio, the Senate President. He has kicked off that to promote good governance, they would collaborate. This will be the first time we have seen an overt rapprochement and accord between the legislature and the executive. Otherwise, in the 7th Senate of Bukola Saraki as president, Ekure Madu as deputy, it was all rancor. Well, to ensure governance, dividends of democracy, it is good for them to collaborate, and which they have said. In fact, the new secretary to government, George Akume, has said that they are working together.
Okay.
And by 100 days, they will even give a charter of achievements. So it is collaboration and not confrontation by the National Assembly that will ensure good governance.
Okay, a section of Nigerians are really hopeful that, you know, it's like placing round pegs in round holes and square pegs in square holes, you know, as per the election and inauguration of the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, looking at the wealth of experience, and of course that of Tajuddin Abbas, his counterpart in the House of Rep. Emmanuel Bakpalo, do you think otherwise?
I think otherwise, because when you go through the records of Godswill Akpabio, particularly when he was in charge of the Ministry of Niger Delta, or Niger Delta Ministry, we saw a lot of debacle, and which almost threw this nation into what I call a utopian state, because some of us couldn't wake up from the dream, how we saw a professor dramatically fainted because he was asked simple questions which he thought he had the answers on his fingertip. And when you look at good governance, the question that will be tempting to ask is, firstly, what is good governance? Good governance in a democratic system is giving the people the dividends of democracy. And when you apply that principle to what we saw in the 9th Assembly, would one be correct to say that there was good governance under the leadership of Ahmed Lawal and Femi Gbajabiamila in the House of Rep? Now, we'll go back to the Constitution. Section 465, which talks about, clearly provides for the principle of separation of power. Because you cannot talk of good governance without firstly looking at these two factors or principles, as the case may be, separation of power and due process of the law.
Yeah.
Now, were there clear separation of power in the 9th Assembly? No. We saw an assembly that approved everything that has to do with borrowing the future out, the future of Nigerians out.
You mean to say that it was like a rubber stamp?
Yes, it was a rubber stamp, not like. And that was what we saw. And today, see the huge debt hanging on the neck of every Nigerian, inclusive you and every one of us that is seated here. So, when you cannot state expressly the principle of separation of powers and the due process of the law, then you cannot say that there was good governance in any form, manner, or guise. You cannot. And that was what we saw. We know, at times when some of us people say, oh, why is it that he is always pessimistic and not optimistic? In a situation where you cannot fathom pessimism, then you don't have, where you cannot fathom rather optimism, then you should be pessimistic. And that is what we saw in the 9th Assembly. Like my late senior quoted here, under the rulership, or the leadership rather, of Bukola Saraki, we saw what it means to have good governance. We saw an assembly that stood its ground. We saw an assembly that will say, no, this will not be to the benefit of the people.
Okay, how do you score, or how do you check a National Assembly that is up on its game? Is it by antagonizing the executive?
No! That's why I stated by saying the principle of separation of power. We are not saying they should be at war. No. The purpose for the second arm of government, the National Assembly, the legislature, is to checkmate the excesses of the executive. That is what we are made to understand. And that is what it is. Now, the germane question is, the 9th Assembly Was he able to checkmate the excesses of the executive? No.
Okay, but the crux now is the 10th Assembly. Let's look at how
the 10th Assembly, with what we have seen, I don't think there will be any difference from the 9th Assembly.
Okay.
Because in a situation where the executive is involved in getting the leadership of the National Assembly, then you don't expect anything.
Let's get your issue in this regard.
Well, they say when a man fails to learn from history, history will repeat itself. The whole essence of the National Assembly, like my brother rightly said it, is to checkmate the excesses of the executive. By the time that becomes an obvious fact that the executive is now the group that is handpicking the leadership of the National Assembly, then what are you expecting? You see, I always want to speak like an ordinary Nigerian. Let's remove rhetorics from the situation. The 8th Assembly, that's Bukala's Abi?
Yes, of course.
The 7th Assembly. That's fantastic. They played the role they are supposed to play. Bills were passed. But the other thing is that the executive were careful in doing certain things that they know that the law does not permit them to do. But the other one that was a clear rubber stamp, till the last day, would you my respect? This was the situation that started with, I wouldn't want to say fraud, and then fraud.
That was the 8th Assembly.
I'm talking of,
okay, 8.
I'm not saying, I'm saying like the 9th Assembly.
Okay, that's the previous one.
Everything was approved. If they had come to say we want to approve the purchase of air, they would have approved it. Anything they pass it, and then till the last day, the government was borrowing money. For what? So that's the situation. And this particular 10th Assembly, well, I don't see anything different. Because you check, the people there. Now, if you don't want these people to be rubber stamp, why would you want to participate in the selection of these people? These are people that are men. Some of them have been governors. Some of them are still in Senate and House of Rep. You mean they cannot select who they want? Because parties are played when it has to do with election. The moment they are there already, you remove party, you talk of Nigeria. These people can select, choose for themselves who they want to lead them. Why will it become the problem of the president? Now you choose them because you want them to become rubber stamp. And the real essence of it is to checkmate your excesses. Because being the executive, there must be excesses.
Okay, you made mention of the whole essence. Now you're saying the real essence. But don't you think it's not just all about checkmating, though that's part of it, but also coming up with robust legislations? Like I said earlier, even the 9th Assembly, came up with some legislations as regards the transportation business, where railway was placed on concurrent list, and it was later given assent to by the former president, Muhammadu Buhari. That again is a huge benefit or development by the 9th Assembly. Don't you think so?
You see, like I said earlier, I said, whenever I come here to speak, I speak like an ordinary Nigerian in the streets. When you say, do this bill, do that law, and all that, at the end of the day, what's the outcome? What's the outcome? Is it railway being constructed to Niger Republic? Is that what we're talking about? Or road being constructed to Niger Republic? Or purchase of executive vehicles to Niger Republic?
Are you also saying that they failed in bringing out robust legislations?
As far as I'm concerned, it was a total failure. Because your whole essence is to checkmate the excesses for the betterment of Nigeria.
Okay.
These are 3 arms of government, and the essence of government is for the well-being of the people. What happened in that last administration? So if they start with the way I'm saying, it will be a retrogressive failure. If they continue with the way I'm saying, okay, you can imagine where there was an election, everybody just unanimously voted for one person. The National Assembly, House of Rep, the same thing. Is it not laughable? My brother, it is. Okay. Now, what they do is, with due respect, they bring all of them, say, you be the leader. If you don't support so committees, you won't head this committee. You see, they are sharing booties, even when the whole thing has not started. At the expense of Nigerians. Okay, look at what is happening now. Somebody is buying fear for how much? 550 naira. And nothing, so far, nothing has been done about it. It's funny. And this are supposed to be what the legislature will come back and say, no, this is too much.
Okay, let's get your view about this, because I know that when it comes to lawmaking, it's expected that the National Assembly, are up on its game to make sure that they bring robust legislation that will help, governance, bring about a deepened democratic values, and of course, that the citizenry will benefit from. Outside the aspect of the issue of being a rubber stamp or an apron string to the executive, how do you access the 10th Assembly in terms of your expectations, as compared to that of the 9th?
Well, on a prima facie face value assessment, since Montesquieu, the French philosopher, told us there are 3 arms of government: legislative, executive, judiciary.
Yeah.
We all know that there cannot be 2 captains in a ship. Out of the 3 arms of government, which the constitution will provide for, there is primus inter pares. There is first amongst equal.
Really?
That first amongst equal is the executive. They provide the bread and butter.
Is that backed by law? Is that backed by the Constitution? Because by what we have in the separation of powers, the arms of government,
that they are
we are seen as the equal, yeah.
I know, but there is primus inter pares. First amongst equal.
Okay.
The 3 captains cannot be in one ship.
Okay.
So the executive is the senior prefects.
So that's where we are having this discrepancy.
Yes, and that's how it should be.
Oh.
So to promote good governance, I'm of the opinion that this 10th Assembly is starting well by not being confrontational.
Okay.
They are collaborating openly. And if they have good rapprochement, it will be for the betterment and well-being.
Is that not how the Assembly starts, by becoming an apron string to the executive?
What you say?
Because that's the fear some Nigerians are having. Even like your
yes, I know.
speaker.
Motions are still being debated. Bills will be sponsored and passed through all those reasons. But in the long run, it is not good. It will not be good for the country to be confrontational. Uniformity, unity, collaboration is the essence to ensure good governance. If the people are at war, legislative on one hand, executive on the other hand, Nigeria will not be good for it. Let them harmonize. As I said, I can vouch for this 10th Assembly.
Oh.
They are promising us that by 100 days, they will count their blessings and name them one by one.
I think that's quite a hope coming from you, Adams Aliyu. And but I must say, your other learned colleague may not be having that hope in that respect. But let's get your opinion about the 10th Assembly, of your dream, in terms of what you expect legislation-wise that will make you give a score, appreciably to the 10th Assembly.
I don't have any dream for this 10th Assembly.
Oh.
And I don't wish to dream either. Because
you sound pessimistic this time.
Yes. When you see, it's unfortunate like that in this country just now, we only have an assemblage of men who are egocentric. And those who benefit from them also put on that garment of egocentrism.
Like Adams Aliyu will always say, you are being presumptive. Because they are not
our father here is a beneficiary.
So don't you think
our father here is
the wrong step you are taking?
Do not expect him to speak otherwise.
He's a beneficiary.
He is a beneficiary.
Of the 10th Assembly.
Listen, when you see those,
you react to that.
When you see those who have been in government and those who have the dream and romance with those in government, when they speak, I tell you,
so anyone that speaks for is already romancing. But what about if that person is really speaking his own mind?
Wait, let MKO said, keep the date with history. I tell you this morning, keep this date with history. This 10th Assembly will do the same with the 9th Assembly.
That's a wrong prayer.
Well, this is a country where people are scared of the truth. And one good thing about the truth, my father told me that lies may travel for 1 million years, but the day truth chooses to travel, to overtake it.
Okay, but the citizens can't just fold their arms. The citizens can't just fold their arms and expect this negative trend to happen to the national assembly.
What do you want the citizens to do?
Take for instance, don't you think there should be a twist, a different tone, you know, that will make the National Assembly sit right and do the needful that you should expect a National Assembly to do?
The boat that every one of us in just now in Nigeria is not a boat that will cause a twist. Let's say it the way it is.
Are you adding some political coloration to this?
Because, firstly, the National Assembly members are men of age and by virtue of the provision of the law who have the power or powers to elect who is their leader. And when you fall short of that, that is the beginning of a tragedy. I don't want to be in a situation where a fairy tale will be told to me like the one in Alice in Wonderland. I don't want to be in that situation. I want to see reality. They have told us 100 days. We are counting along with them. The 100 days is not far. See, we are not saying that there should be confrontation or war between the executive and the legislature. That is not what we are saying.
Just do your job.
If the legislature cannot elect who is their leader, what is it that legislature can do? Is it the legislature that few minutes to the end of the tenure will begin to pass bills into law? Then somebody will borrow $800 million and tell us that they have paid for the month of June for subsidy, and yet we didn't see that, and nobody is investigating it. Okay.
I think a lot is being said or expected from Nigerians, you know, from the National Assembly by Nigerians. Looking at, let's feed your appetite a little bit, Comrade Cosmos Irabor. We look at the aspect of insecurity. That is really a big challenge in Nigeria. And the state governors have appealed and made very strong, you know, engagements with the federal government, you know, and even through bills, you know, to bring about state policing as a way out of this security quagmire. What do you set for the 10th Assembly as regards having a bill, you know, that would translate into a law, you know, in this respect?
Like my brother here stated, as a matter of fact, I'm not expecting anything from them.
Are you serious?
I'm telling you. It's all from the way it's manner it started from. I'm not expecting it. They are out there, my personal opinion anyway, to do exactly what they've been instructed to do. And I can assure you that it will be difficult to get a president that will support state police. Very difficult.
What makes you think so?
Find out, you will see. Has any president in this country supported state police? They want a situation where they will be in full control of everything that they want to do.
It takes one to make a difference.
That's why I'm telling you that there will be none. Mark it down. They will never support it. Because all they do is their personal interest. You see, we are in the field. I've seen a situation where some people did something that is terribly wrong. From Abuja, they just come. Maybe they will arrest the person. From Abuja, they send a message out. But if it's state police, it will not be like that. The state will also have their own power to prosecute. But they want to be in charge, full in charge. Look at the appointment of the service chiefs. Because when you're talking of issue of security, it starts from there. Is there anybody appointed from the South or Southeast? Nobody. So you're not saying that those people cannot even do anything?
We're still looking at that.
I'm saying the service chiefs. They've been appointed already.
Yeah.
So these are all issues. When you neglect a particular people, it shows that as far as you're concerned, they don't matter, they don't count. So these are things people look at before you say they are being pessimistic. It's not being pessimistic. You are being realistic. When you see things, you know where it's starting from and where it's going to. So this is security. You know, Nigeria actually does not have security problem. We have political problem. That's the truth. Because if the Nigerian soldiers wants to stop this nonsense they call security all around, it will not take them 1 week to do it. But the fact is that people are saying it must continue. Let it be so. Some are making money from it. Some are scoring political points from it. And that's where it is. I'm sure you heard what this man said, Asare Dokubo. He said, they are fighting, they are doing this. The weapons they have is not to 1% of what the Nigerian have. How come Nigeria is not doing anything? And I happened to have one army officer, I said, Colonel. He told me, he said, look, when they were in Liberia, excuse me, that the Liberian rebels surrounded them. In Liberia, in the land of Liberia there. And then when they looked at, they were all surrounded. He said the colonel that led them called them and said, everybody kit up. He said, Nigerian soldiers are not known to have surrendered to anybody. So when I fired the first shot, other firing is at your discretion. He said, that was how it started. He said they fired till they leveled them. The remaining one now went to Nigerian embassy. They went there also, in those people's land. Not to talk of in your own land. What does it take to clear them? But people say it must not be done. When Jonathan started fighting initially, what did they do? They said it was killing their people. So it's just to score a political point. There's nothing like insecurity. So any government that is willing to do it, it will not take him time to do it at all. But when you now appoint service chiefs from particular regions and all those ones, and when the, what do you call it, the rebels, so to say, are from those particular areas, you say you don't do it. Let me tell you, there was a document I was doing. Haven't done the document, and I showed the colleague. He said, please, correct it well. You know where this document is going to. You know that man does not take nonsense. He must check everything. That's why the National Assembly is good. If they want to do certain things from the executive, they will say, please, correct it. If you take it to the National Assembly, they will not assent to it. They will not accept it. But if it's a rubber stamp, anything goes. And that's what they want. And people who go by that system are not for good. Okay,
but to me, it seems you are a crusader of state policing. Of course, when you had that vision, you know, while you were a gubernatorial candidate in the gubernatorial elections in Edo State in recent past, you also shared a dream, you know, on how you're going to tackle issues of insecurity. Mm-hmm. But again, don't you look at the aspect where a whole lot has been said concerning the tendencies of state governors, you know, monopolizing the state policing for personal gains and selfish interests? Don't you think that, again, will be what even the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as it is now, would also look into and see if there will be need to have state police?
You see, not everything is 100%. It has the good side and the bad side. But if the good side outweighs the bad side, then you can see it to be good. If we had state police in Edo State now, you think all these things will continue? Obaseki will have to go and have been going to beg the military, beg the police, because it does not control the police. It does not control the military. Please help me do this. And it got to a situation where he also had to start vigilante group. And you see the vigilante men with their long guns and all those things. What actually can they do? But over and above that, you see, recording some successes. If there was state police, he knows how to give order, and you know that if you front that order, you will be punished for it. So state policing is good. It does not mean that it does not have a bad side. Some governors that are not very good will do that. The good ones will not do it.
Okay, let's quickly take your bite in this for the 10th National Assembly as regards state policing, as we round off on that point.
State policing is a part of security. And security is the exclusive list. When we talk of exclusive list, we mean finance. Every state cannot print its own currency. Every state cannot have its own army or police, defense. So when you try to localize security, it will become double-barrel. The state police will be fighting the federal police. So the Constitution has provided all those things in the exclusive list. So other matters are residual.
Because that's the considerations others are having, not even supporting state
some
policing.
other matters,
but like he said, a lot of benefits accrue from this, more than the disadvantages.
Have we had state police? How does it know? You are merely speculating and prejudicial that if every local government has its own police, every state has police, they will know the terrain. That is an exclusive list. Security is national. It should be one.
So you don't expect the 10th National Assembly to be doing that just now?
Not at all. We are not yet matured for it. In the United States, there are state policemen and the rest, but here we are not ready for it.
Okay.
They will be at crossroads with the federal authorities and will not be in good for it.
Okay. In 1 minute, what are your expectations for the 10th Assembly as you run?
My expectation is that I will give them open check, give them open hand, because it would be wrong to be parochial and presumptive. They have only spent 3 weeks.
Okay.
So if somebody is regarded as innocent until proved guilty,
okay,
I will not be judgmental or speculating that they will do this, they won't do that.
You said you don't have any expectations anyways, but in 1 minute, just round off on your points and give some hope to Nigerians. I think you can do that.
From the selection of the executive members of the National Assembly, they are already guilty. They're already guilty. I do not anticipate anything spectacular from this group of persons there. I do not. And when you talk, see, like Edda said here that state security is in the exclusive list. We know that.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is why we want it to come out from the exclusive list.
Yes, it's a product of the National Assembly.
Are you getting me? So, and it is this National Assembly that should do that.
Okay, so you round up with that.
Whether they will do it, they will not.
All right. Your final point on this.
My own is simple. You see, these same people there might have been there for 20 or 20-something days, but they did not fall from the sky. There are people who already know. We know the antecedents. So when you say we are not really expecting anything, so that we don't get disappointed, because out of nothing comes out. So that's the position. I'm really not expecting anything from them. Nothing fantastic.
Well, thank you very much, Adam Saliu, for taking the time to be part of this, and of course, Barrister Emmanuel Bakolo and Comrade Cosmos Serabo, a legal practitioner also. Well, this is what you can take on this segment, and we're going to be joining Abuja for a continuation of the discussion on TMI.
Philip.
Thank you, Charity. I think that was a beautiful outing where we're going to be looking at issues about the 10th National Assembly. A lot is expected about the 10th National Assembly. We have the executive, of course, the legislature, not leaving out the judiciary anyways, but the crux we're going to be having as the good governance in Nigeria, promoting good governance, the role of the 10th National Assembly. We saw the inauguration of the National Assembly, and where Godswill Akpabio, as a senator, emerged as the Senate president, and that of his counterpart in the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, emerged as the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Here in the studio with me, looking at and also interrogating the process concerning bringing about good governance as regards the role of the 10th National Assembly, is a senior pastor of Gospel Pillar, Faith Pillars Gospel Church, and also a legal practitioner and a social media influencer, Patrick Awo Osage. Thanks for joining me, Patrick.
Thank you, Philip, for having me. A very good morning to everyone.
Also joining me from Abuja, I'm going to be having Bola Bakari. Good morning, Bola Bakari. Okay, I think let's leave that out why we have the opportunity he could be joining in the course of the conversation. Now, let's get your viewpoints about what your expectations are like. First of all, let's look at what you feel about the leadership of the Senate, for instance, on the Godswill Akpabio, and of course, the House of Rep counterpart, Tajuddin Abbas.
Thank you very much. Well, I know so much about the fact that at the Senate level, the legislative arm is to make laws that will enhance development. The Godswill Akpabio was two-time governor of Akwa Ibom State, and over time, while he was governor, while he was leader of state governor at the time, he was able to inspire the people, and we could see some notable stuff he did there and chart a good course for the state. We won't wish that away, despite the fact that there are back and forth court cases, on how funds were expended, and questions that are still begging for answers, but we won't wish that away. At this point in time, that he's not Senate president, because everything rises and falls on the leader to a great extent, in as much we have the rules and the procedures of removing whoever is leader at every given circle. But the truth is, he as a person cannot do it all. The House will have to cooperate with him. The Senate chambers, they have to cooperate with him to drive the legislature to the next level. Now, going back to what the body language of Mr. President Bola Tinubu has shown to Nigerians, you could see that there's some level of proactivity in what he's doing, and this pragmatic way of getting things, wanting to get things done. I want to believe it's going to be like that. And having somebody like Godswill Akpabio on the other end, I think
it's a right match.
It's a right match, if you ask me. But again, you could, an individual cannot be the whole bunch of people. But I believe leadership is all about inspiring people. I believe they will be able to do well. I honestly have faith in the door, as it stands today.
Okay, before now, I had a round of guests, and they spoke about differently about what they feel concerning the current National Assembly as compared to that of the night. Now, they said that the night was like a rubber stamp, a string to the executive, and if we must get it right this time, the 10th National Assembly, should sing a different song, or there should be a different twist or a different narrative, to bring about respite in the direction of Nigerians. But do you see the 10th National Assembly looking at how Senator Godswill Akpabio, emerged? Some say he was handpicked by the president. Influences were made in that direction by the executive of not being into this development. Do you see this as what will work well or augur well to have a very robust legislation and, of course, a National Assembly that is dogged, that will want to bring about the betterment of the people in respect of, even if it means, embarking on oversight functions that may be seen as aggressive to the executive? Do you see the National Assembly as having this stake?
Thank you very much. I don't, the word handpicked, I don't get that. If the president had said, I prefer this candidate, or I prefer this person to be, there was an election, there was some votes casting, and there was some process that went on. And it was that transparent. We saw it, if you say, well, they were induced to do whatever, that is not before us. As a lawyer, we will not join issues with things like that. That everybody, we have ways of wanting to lobby people to get us or get votes from them. What I'm trying to look at is the leader himself. What is he doing? If you seek somebody to join you that share in your own kind of ideology, that will drive home, any of them that is there, and I remember what Lamido Sanusi, former Central Bank Governor for Miami of Kano, had said. He said, anybody that will become president of this country have a lot of work to do. So they are not coming now. Nobody is coming to sit down in the Penabinali and the structure of government and president and all of that. It's not going to work here.
Okay.
Because the situation now is that the man in question, if he doesn't know what to do and is seeking someone who he feel can relate with him, and he have a good agenda, that's nothing bad. It's when he's twisted, he have something, something on the negative. That he's trying to see someone who will help him perpetuate his, evil intentions. That's when we'll raise eyebrow. But and over again, it was an electable stuff, and everybody voted for the Akpabio man. I think it's okay, and I don't see what the affairs. They should keep that, and when that time comes, Nigerians will also rise to the occasion if need be.
Okay. I'll come back to you while we allow the pendulum to swing to our guest in Abuja, who is standing by, Bola Bakari. Good morning, Bola.
Good morning, Patrick. Philip, how are you today?
Oh, great, and you? All right, let's look at the issues at the front burner as regards the 10th National Assembly. There's been this conversation and this song that the 10th National Assembly could be wearing the toga of the 9th, where some perceived the night as an apron string to the executive. Do you see a different narrative, in the 10th National Assembly, or do you concur with what others are saying in this regard?
Thank you, my brother. The 10th National Assembly is a well-done job. If you think back to what happened at the 9th, it was good to go. And if you listen to what was in the social media, what people are saying, talking about on a regular basis was, we were looking at a case of what I can call, in quote, the Saraki Sega. But unfortunately, it did not happen. Because most of us out there do not know the intrigues of what is called politics and politicking. Our president, the Commander-in-Chief, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, knows his onions. He is an experienced man. He's been around for quite a while. He even had an 8-year hiatus to sit down, sit back, relax, and think about how to move Nigeria forward. So what we should be doing as we speak is let us learn from what he has been able to learn within that 8 years. Not just 8 years alone, some 20, 30 years from the days of Nadeko to here present. The National Assembly, as we speak, is going to do its job. And what most people are saying is, oh, he brought in the Akpabio and the Abbas. No. If you had watched the television, if you had been by your set to witness what transpired, it was a pure case of the National Assembly members were doing their own thing. Excuse me. Which was what they asked for. They said, whatever you say, whatever the party says, whatever the zoning you are going to throw at us, leave us alone to do our own voting. And I loved one circumstance that happened. The two modes of voting were used. In the Senate, they used the one whereby it was private voting, electronic voting. And in the House of Reps, it was live. Stand up and say who you want to vote for. But at the same time, you can afford to see that in the House of Reps, people were saying their minds. And then there is one thing I like Nigerians to think about. When somebody is talking to you or talking at you, you can always read from his face if he means what he is saying. And in the House of Reps, we were able to witness that. Some of them were even joking about it. Some of them were even using some high-level grammatical words to make sure that I am in support of this man. And at the end of the day, we do have two of the other contestants, though they had very low numbers. But even the people that talked about them with verve and vigor. And in the Senate, it was good to go. Because a few of them, I can quote this man, Ali Dume. Prior to the voting in the Senate, Ali Dume told one sister station, one electronic media station, that, look, I can tell you straight to your face that we have 62 people ready to go for Akpabio. And on the day proper, the 62 became 63, which was what I can call being in accord with what is going on. All Nigerians should be waiting for and getting ready for is that element of what we call the renewed hope. Because the president, as we speak, has been able to surprise everybody. I am yet to see a Nigerian that is not surprised, because you are a media person. I have friends here that are media people. I am also in that same category. And then the word out there is, oh, this man is trying. He's shocking us. He's doing this. He's doing that. But what I can tell you is that National Assembly, the 10th National Assembly that we are going to have, in synergy with the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and I can tell Nigerians, we have a synergy that is fantastic.
Okay, thank you.
Governance is going to be lofty, and then we can be rest assured.
Okay. Last question for you, Bola Bakari. I enjoy your having discussion with you and your flow as a political analyst. But let's look at the aspects of legislation and what you are expecting the 10th National Assembly to do. Like Nigerians mostly are asking for a better security platform where, you know, there will be community policing, state policing. Would you subscribe to that? Because even the governors of the federation are also asking for state policing, you know, as a better way, you know, to tackle insecurity headlong. Will you be giving the 10th National Assembly something in that respect to run with?
Of course, yes, my brother. Of course, Philip. If you notice what Bola Ahmed Tinubu did in Lagos, he was the first person that started what we call RRS, Rapid Response Squad. And honestly, every state of the Federation has copied that. The man knows what he is thinking. Get my word right. He knows what he is thinking. There are two things. What you're thinking and what you're doing are two different things. But he does both simultaneously. What we're going to do now is, when it comes to security, let's go back a little bit to the guests you had on air prior, where they were talking in terms of the change in patterns of security, architecture, and all that matters. I tell you, the moment you have a change in another person, there is going to be a change in operations. And that change in operations matters a lot because security affects everything we do. Agriculture, investments, this, manufacturing, everything. And that security aspect, the National Assembly is going to take good care of that. We can be rest assured. They are going to take good care of that. Because even most of them, prior to this time, most of them do not go home. They stay in Abuja.
Okay. Okay.
Even as short as Kaduna is, they're still afraid. Even the train is not working. Your car you cannot use. Your flight is not there. But I can tell you, the National Assembly is going to work in synergy with Mr. President. And honestly, security, being number one on the front burner, is going to be well taken care of.
Thank you very much, Bola Bakari, for taking our time to be part of this discussion. And I wish you a beautiful day ahead of you.
You too.
All right, so let's quickly, as we round off Patrick Awo's idea, let's look at your expectations for the 10th National Assembly.
Well, my expectations are rather high because I believe, like we know very well, you cannot put, if you put a round peg in a round hole, definitely you're going to have...
It fits in.
It fits in perfectly. I believe in the 10th Assembly, and I believe they're going to perform exceptionally because, like I earlier stated, the character of the persons. When I mean character... In
the Home of Affairs of the houses, the red and the green chamber.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And with the way and manner they had come on board now,
okay,
it's going to be different. It's not going to be business as usual.
Okay.
I think they are all both experienced and they will be able to do well. Like I did said, there's no perfection in humanity and there's no perfection in a person trying to do something. But if things don't go the way we want, Nigerians will still stand up to say this is not what. So that's basically how it turned out to be.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Patrick Awosagie, a legal practitioner,
it's my pleasure,
for taking our time to be a part of this.
Thank you so much,
and also a
me.
doctor. I must miss out on that. Well, this is much we can take on the discussion. Don't forget to join us same time tomorrow. And my name is Philip Omo Gupon. Coming shortly is Business Rendezvous. Happy viewing.